introducing peas now. This year we've decided to grow our peas separately in longer, narrower troughs. In the past we had grown in the bigger beds, sort of along the edge, but they get so big they block the sun for the beds, which is fine. You can still grow that way, I'm sure, but we just said, well, let's just make two troughs specifically for peas. I thought it would be easier to even harvest if you could access from both sides easily, and I wouldn't have to worry about them getting too big and maybe falling over on the other crops and creating unnecessary competition. We're into the first week of May now with our pea seeds. They are one of the things you can plant early. They'll take a frost or two. And again, I'll just use my finger and poke. I'll go 5 inches apart, give or take. And it doesn't hurt if you want to go a bit closer, because you can always weed them out. So if a seed doesn't take or germinate, you'll still have another one there to fill the space. And as they come up, you'll get an idea of how many you have and how many you'll need to successfully harvest. I go down about an inch and a half. One thing that I think is important to mention, a problem that I've run into actually, is that I've had my stakes in the past, and what I thought was adequate support for the peas turned out to be not enough, and I've actually had them fall over, and you lose crop that way. So when you stake your peas, you want a good, sturdy, large stake. I mean, they'll grow. I've seen 4 or 5 foot pea plants, and if you don't anticipate that growth, they end up just falling over, and that's not really what you're looking for. I like peas because you can harvest from them for a very long time. So in the beginning you'll get, I don't know if they're snow peas, but the baby peas, you can eat them right off the plant, pod and all, and that'll last for a couple weeks. And then they'll mature, and you can take the peas out of the pod and eat them fresh off the plant for a couple weeks. And then usually by the end of it, when you harvest the whole crop, you get a large harvest still. So it's one of those things where if you time it properly, you're eating fresh food for quite a while off of these plants. I've actually even seen pea plants go into a second bloom and have another harvest again towards the end of August, 1st of September. And also they seem to be a favorite for children. Children love to come out and pick peas and eat them. So that's a bonus if you can get your children eating fresh vegetables right off the vine. That's one of the reasons actually I got into gardening. I noticed my children were they were eating out of the gardens, and I didn't have to argue with them to eat their greens. They just did it. So when I saw that, I was like, oh geez, that's a great thing. And then again, after they're in the holes, just take my hand like this, go right up the row. And that's a row of peas planted. And like I say, my stakes this year, I'm going big. I'm going very big. I've had 2 or 3 seasons now where I underestimated the size of the trellises. So this year I'm not going to make the same mistake. But I can't really think of too much else to say. Oh, I do know peas are known to put nitrogen into the soil where other crops will take it back. So if you are into crop rotation, one thing to mention about peas is that if you plant them, they will promote certain growth and chemicals in the soil that other plants will actually need to grow. Where sometimes nitrogen deficiency. Actually, nitrogen is usually the limiting reagent in growing. So keep that in mind about peas. And other than that, good luck.